What's going on?
Not much, man. So this is episode 2 of the Monstrousitous U with Captain Dave and the General Lee.
General Lee.
So how you been, man?
Pretty good. A little stressed out.
Okay, yeah. Go on, explain that.
So let's see. I'm about 5 weeks out from my kid getting here.
Yep.
Give or take. And then school started last week. I feel like I'm way behind on my planning, so I'm reworking all of my PowerPoints.
Gotcha.
I have a second class that starts second 8 weeks that I haven't even looked at yet. Probably not a good thing. And then I've been running it hot in the training.
So let's start with your class first of all. What again is it you teach? So anyone that decides to watch this, they'll know.
The first class I'm teaching that I've already started is exercise program design.
Okay.
So it's the capstone class my students take before their internship. So I'm teaching basically the second half of the NSCA Essentials book.
Cool.
And then the second class I'm teaching is resistance training. So it's kind of college PE.
Cool. Gotcha. So you mentioned your training. Obviously, I do your training for you. What do you think of it so far?
I like it. It's
different. I want this on video, and this is like a courtroom submission for later on. If you try to kill me, this will be presented as evidence.
Yes. No, I enjoy it. It's nice to get out of my own. I don't want to say get out of my own way because I feel like I'm pretty proficient at programming. You write programs for yourself. You get stuck doing things you really enjoy doing and get in your own dogma and like, this is how I program. This is what I'm going to run. And then you ignore weak spots.
Yep.
Like, before I was running, like I call it the Phenom. It's my own riff of a 5-3-1 variation. I should sell it. It's built on the backbone of a tier system. So there you go, Joe Ken. There's your shout out for the day.
Yep.
So and then I incorporate like West Side style dynamic effort with that. But I found myself like everything was straight ahead. It was bench squat dead every day.
Yep.
So then accessories were just pull.
What you feel like doing, right? Not necessarily what you need to be doing, but it's what you're doing.
Right. What I like doing. So pull downs, D handle rows, curls, and push downs, GHRs.
Yep.
Not a lot of abs. I would do like weighted abs and band twists.
Yep.
It's on my Instagram if you want to go look at what I did all summer, and I threw in some tempo work on non-lifting days to get my cardio up.
So what's your handle so people can find you?
Phenoms only.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes later on. Yeah. It kind of sounds funny saying I'm going to put things in the show notes.
Put it in the show notes.
That's just how it is. So with Dave's training, I put a lot of things in there that Dave doesn't like doing. A lot of things that make Dave incredibly uncomfortable. Like now you're into Zercher squats, and those are for me kind of a bread and butter. It's a deload, but it works the abs hard, works the low back hard, works the hips really hard, and also it's your own testicular fortitude to be able to hold onto the bar in the crooks of your arms. So. But still, it's a deload in relative intensity compared to like a front squat, which you did before that, and a back squat, which you did before that. So there's kind of a downward slope in terms of the weight being used, but there's more of a focus on kind of, I guess, stabilizers, you could say.
I think I might have just Zerchered more than I front squatted in week one.
There's a good possibility for that.
I like Zerchers. Like as much as they suck. Yep. I like doing them better than front squats.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I'm the same way. I despise a front squat. But I think a lot of that is because I'm front side weak. So that's something I'm trying to work on too. I can't stabilize that.
My issue with front squats is I struggle to hold the bar. I'll lose more front squats at the bottom because I can't stay tight in my upper back.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I'm going to move on to the first topic that we have for today, because we are kind of
Okay.
on a conjuncted table here today. There are, I'll start with this. At New Year's, everyone has this New Year's resolution that they're going to keep. You know, new year, new me. This is the first year in a long time that I haven't even written down anything at all. It's just I'm continuing course of where I'm at. But some people, you know, will write down, you know, 3 things that they think about. Maybe it's just one thing that they want to accomplish for the year, and a lot of people don't even make it past it. So past the first month. So kind of my point to this is, now you see programs like 75 Hard, which I know, you know, Johnny Buck is, you know, sold and in on. I've used like lists myself, off of some of Terrence Mitchell's, you know, 30 Days of Discipline. Like, he has a pretty extensive list. So is there really a point to a New Year's resolution, is what I'm trying to say? Or is everything just about finding something that works for you and working out a system for yourself? That's kind of my question here.
I don't know, because I'm not a big New Year's resolution guy.
Okay.
I'm just here's what I need to get done. I'm just gonna go do it.
Yeah.
So I guess see, for some people, writing things down is huge, putting them on a wall. You know, but for me, it's like, hey, I want to, about the start of last summer, I decided I wanted to start trying to teach in the college setting.
Yep.
Well, something I've been stewing over for a long time, and I sat down with my bosses at one of my jobs that I don't work at anymore, and we wrote down SMART goals.
Yep.
And
what's a SMART goal? I've heard it before. I just don't remember what the acronym stands for.
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely.
Okay.
So I still have it on the wall, and I thought it would be, I'm going to have to lecture.
Yep.
And guest lecture a couple times and network, and I got lucky. I saw a job, I applied for it, I interviewed, and here I am in my second semester teaching the same course.
Yeah, for sure. Like 70, are you familiar with what 75 Hard is?
Do 75 hard days in a row.
It's something like you do two workouts a day, drink a gallon of water, you read a little bit every day. It's something that basically just puts a system into place that you have to follow. Like, I don't think it's something that you're going to follow extensively your entire life, but I can see the benefits of providing structure for people that have no structure.
Right.
You know, that's a first way to actually get somewhere, is to be put into a system and have to figure that system out. You know what I mean? Like, when I worked with Terrence, his thing was, all right, you're gonna read a book a month, but you're gonna write daily. You're gonna breathe for 10 minutes through your nose at a tempo. You're gonna sit in complete silence for 10 minutes and go for a walk every day. And then on top of that, you train. So it's 5-6 things that you're gonna do. And for me, that provided me some structure. And so I'm not spinning my wheels trying to figure it out. But once I got into it, there were things that I started to shed because I realized I was on the path I needed to be. So part of me thinks that you're put into a hard structure, then that allows you to finally figure out what's going to work for you. Like, that was the thing, you know, like you say, with a SMART goal, like with him, we sat down and I was like, you know, I want to lose 60 pounds by the time I turn 40. I missed that by a few months, but I still got there, which was cool. It was a smart, it was a specific, it was measurable, like you say. I just didn't make the timetable, but I still got there. So I guess I met my goal.
Yeah.
You know, if I was on a reality TV show, they would have told me I was a fucking failure, though. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to I'm not really driving through what I'm trying to say here is, I think that hard structure works for some people. Like you say, setting something that's specific and measurable and repeatable, and I can measure it over time. That's also something that's incredibly beneficial too. But someone's got to figure out which one's going to work for them. So how do they get there?
I mean, I think it goes back to just creating good habits.
Yep.
Is figure out. I've decided my bandwidth limit is like 3 things. for me, like whether it's, you know, training at this point doesn't have to be one of those three because it's a have to, it's a need to. I noticed when I'm not training, I become an asshole.
Same here.
So that stays in no matter what. Now it's finding time, like shooting my bow is really important to me.
Yep.
And that's become kind of my meditation space where lifting weights was before, and it would quiet my mind. Weights doesn't do that to me anymore. So shooting my bow is my meditation time.
Yep.
And now I'm trying to add in reading for, I don't want to say for pleasure because I haven't read any fiction books in a while, but reading things outside of my coursework.
Yes.
So I'm finally dedicating to getting through super training.
Yep. That's a tough one, man. It's so deep. It's so deep, and there's so many layers to it.
I read it in grad school, but I didn't understand it. Now I read it, I'm like, oh, that's where Louis got that idea from.
Yep. It's neat.
It starts to make sense now that I actually have that base of knowledge to draw from. I mean, the other thing is, for me right now, those are my two. The third at this point is going to be, as soon as my kitchen is done, still have countertops, driving me crazy, is getting my nutrition dialed in, because that's the piece I've always missed out on. I feel like if I dialed my nutrition in, I could sit comfortably at 180 and not look fat.
Yep. So on that, like, where are you sitting at about right now?
Last time I was on a scale was 195, but that was before I started training again.
Yep.
I think you're about to get sneak attacked. So no, I'm guessing probably right around 190. What's up, white guy? Who's that? Tyler or Benson? I can't see.
That's Kai. Benson's sleeping.
What's up, Kai guy? So yeah, no, it's Reese. Got the whole crew almost.
Yep.
So no, I'm just working on that and putting the pieces together. I know this baby's gonna throw a wrench in things, but caffeine. I mean, what were your secrets? Because you got four.
Yep.
And then, like, you left SEMO right before Reese was born.
Yeah, 10 days.
So, did you take some time off, or you like leave and then have a job?
I worked part-time at a Velocity before it shut down. I was there working there for 3 or 4 days, and then he was born, and I went back there for a couple more weeks, and then I landed into something different, and the facility shut down right after that.
Okay.
So I mean, it was an adjustment for sure. Hell, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, but I figured, something. If you work hard enough, or if you stay disciplined enough in where you want to go, things work out. Like, right. You're lucky that you're not in that situation right now.
Yeah. Was your wife still in school when Reese was born? Or was
she was in her junior year.
Okay.
Dental school.
Yeah. So she still had another year of school.
Yep.
Yeah. So that wasn't like, hey, I could take care of the kid for a couple months and figure it out. You kind of had to jump 2 feet in, and so I'm pretty lucky. My wife will get 4 weeks with no work, 2 weeks work from home, and right about when she goes back to work full time, I'll be wrapping up my semester.
That's awesome.
So I may have all summer to readjust.
Yep, for sure.
But we'll see. We'll see what the world throws at me. You never know what's going to happen between now and then.
That's true, man. But yeah. Yeah, Team 1 too. So it's the other part that I really want to talk about today. I'm not sure if we really came to a resolution on where we were going to.
For me, I think it just comes of developing a system to develop habits.
Yeah.
Is whether it's a checklist.
Yeah.
Or I'm a big proponent of accountability buddies.
Say that one more time.
I'm a big proponent of what I call accountability buddies.
Okay.
So,
so you got someone that works alongside you, like a wingman?
yeah, like perfect example was my cousin Justin. All last winter and summer, I got him in shape for a moose hunt.
Yep.
So I wrote his program for him, and all he had to do is like I would call him once a week, like, "Hey, how's it going? What do you like? What do you don't like?
Yep.
Are you doing it?" He's like, "I missed this day, but I have time on Saturday where I'm going to put my cardio and my workout day together."
Yep.
So I didn't do anything too elaborate where he couldn't do both on the same day.
Yeah. So I guess I do that with some of my guys that I train online. Like I got a kid that grew up across the street from me at home. And I'm doing his training now. And he checks in with me through Marco Polo. It's an app. It's like a video app. So he checks in with me on form for like the big three. And today completely fixed his bench, and things started moving. And he's like, "Holy crap! You know, why didn't somebody tell me all this before?" And it all was just about creating shoulder pressure. And that was the only thing that we fixed. But he felt the difference on that, and I think that was kind of cool. So I like Marco Polo. I think that's pretty neat because I can give direct feedback right back. I've done that with the guy at work as well. I fixed his deadlift and put 60 pounds on his deadlift in a day. So it's pretty fucking cool.
I'd like you to put 60 pounds on my best deadlift.
Well, let's give it some time, man. It's been done before. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So let's get into the second topic, which is how do you create a newbie for someone completely new to lifting? How can we set them up to be in a position to really get to train the big three? Big three are what I'm talking about is bench, squat, and deadlift.
How to get them.
So this is what I've got. I put down a little spreadsheet here. Can you see this okay?
Now I can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So for me, the ultimate goal in the end is to get someone to where they can understand RPE.
Yes.
So that's rate of perceived exertion. And I've simplified my RPE scale now to where it's almost like a reps and reserve scale. So for me now, a 7 is I have 3 in the tank. 8 is 2 in the tank. 9 would be 1 rep in the tank. And an RPE of 10 would be complete, you're failing. There's nothing left. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's so when you programmed for me for my last meet, that's how I treated RPE.
Yep.
And this time around, because I really delved into some of the I forgot the name of his companies, but to cheer stuff.
Yeah.
And looked at his scale. So now I understand his scale, and that's how I've been doing it this time. But I think reps and reserve is easier to understand.
Yep. So that's kind of like the goal, I think, is to get somebody to start to understand RPE, reps and reserve. And I'm going to use that synonymously as the same thing because I think that it's easy enough to measure it that way. On cardiovascular exercise, I think that's a little bit different. But in terms of strength training, I think it's easy enough. So Here's kind of what I think. And I think a traditional 5x5 is always a good place to start. And an RPE of 7. So that's really it's just understanding the lift itself, right?
Right.
Just understanding technique. You can tweak technique through the sets. And then next week it just goes up. Put it up to an RPE of 8. Then we go into a 5x5. Again, RPE of 8 again. But you should see plus 10 to 20 pounds. It's like your effort should be easier because you're firing differently. You're getting more efficient at that time.
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah, you're just neurologically more efficient.
Yep. So again, 8 to 9, kind of there. And that's where I go down to here to 5x3 with you the next week. So again, it comes back down to an RPE of 8. But the lessening the reps, now you got to put some weight on the bar and kind of test yourself a little bit.
Yeah. I would probably not for a beginner. Like, are we talking someone never lifted, or they kind of like they lifted in high school and now they're just
Lifted in high school, just haven't since.
huh?
And I'm not saying that we're going to slap 405 on the bar and let it ride. What I'm saying is the weight's going to go up probably 10%, going from 5s to 3s.
Yeah.
So someone that could be anywhere from a 15 to a 30-pound jump.
Like
now it's not, and now you're not as fatigued.
I would ride. For me, I would probably ride like 5x5, 3x5, maybe 3x8. But instead of giving them RPE, I would say, hey, work up to a weight that's challenging, but not difficult. Something you can do, and you feel it.
Yep.
But it's not. You're not struggling to get those last couple reps. And
good.
Next week,
I like that.
Try to beat it.
What you're looking for here is that 5 to 15-pound increase.
Yeah. And then once I get 3, 4, like probably week 4, I'll have them try to find a 5-rep max.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm coming down to that here.
Yeah.
So here for me, it's 5 by, it could be 2 to 3, but now it's an RPE of an 8 again. And now it's a 5 RM here. Right. I almost like it at the end of that time period, because it gives you some time to figure some things out in terms of your technique, what's going to work better. But also allows you to strain a little bit in this area in here. But here, when you come into a 5-rep max, it's not going to be accurate.
No, but
you'll know within probably 10 to 20 pounds where you are.
Right. I would get a ballpark number, and I know you're not the biggest fan, but I would just run like 2 or 3 5-3-1 cycles.
Yeah.
Just because you really screw it up.
Yep.
That's me. I love me some 5-3-1.
Yeah, and I understand why people do. I just have different ways of doing it. I think for deadlift, it can almost be the same. Because, like for me, like the technique on a deadlift isn't something that's super special. It can be. There are things that make a noticeable difference in terms of where you set up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes the biggest difference of all.
Like, I'd be half tempted to leave deadlifts out for the first 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And stick to like an RDL and really, really learn a hinge pattern, so that way you don't wind up squatting your deadlifts.
So here we go. RDL 3x8.
And I might
nothing crazy.
I might even, if they have access to it, do it with a standing dumbbell.
Yep.
So that way they're getting that range of motion and touching the ground.
So what do you think about that?
That would, I don't know if I would go 10 or 8, 10, 12, or if I'd go 3, 4, 5 on my sets.
Yeah.
It probably depends on the goal.
Yeah. Like for this, I say 3x8, 3x10, 3x12. It's an easy way of progressive overload without putting weight on it. Because progressive overload isn't necessarily more weight on the bar. It's also more reps at the same weight.
Right.
So right, work the pattern, improve the pattern. Here you can almost go to like a rack lockout. Because you're kind of working your way down the pattern now.
Yeah.
Maybe 3x5. Last set. Medium effort. And could go rack lock out again. One pin down. Up 10 to 20 pounds. And then I'm doing a deadlift on the floor.
Yeah. Right. There's a million ways you could do that.
Yeah. This is like you say, this could be a complete beginner. So here's what I like better. It's sumo. It's always where I started, guys, in college. Sumo first to build the hips. So it's heavy set of 5 here.
Sumo's tricky though.
Yeah, but it's still. Here's something I've been playing around with. It's kind of a mixture between conventional and sumo on the stance. So my hands I grip it like it's sumo, but I bring my feet in now inside of the knurling on the bar, where I normally, where the grooves are.
Yeah.
And my toes are inside of it. You can't lift nearly as much, but I don't have the mobility anyway. I'm not a hyper mobile guy.
Right. That's what I was saying with sumo getting tricky is I think of a guy like Colt. Like, I don't know if Colt could have pulled sumo.
Yep.
If he could get in that position, he would have been freaky strong at it.
Yep.
But that's kind of where I think sumo gets tricky. But I kind of like that hybrid approach where you kind of like a wide stance conventional, as opposed to me who I bet the ring lines up with the inside of my shin.
Okay. It's about the same way with me.
Yeah.
When I think about where I put my toe on that bar, I always want my big toe to be right outside of that ring.
Yeah. My toes, because I flare my feet out, my toes are probably underneath the collar.
Yep. Interesting. Here's the last one is bench. And bench is something I really don't like to program. But yeah, I think 5x5 is a good one here. And I could do 5x5 all the way and find a different variation every time.
See, I think with a beginner, it's kind of important to stick with a specific movement for a good 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Just to learn the motor patterns.
Yep.
And then you can start floor press, pin presses.
Yep.
Close grip, illegal grip. You can mess with grips. You could, I don't know, incline. I don't know. The older I get, I still love bench pressing.
Yep.
But the older I get, the more I like overhead.
So my mind, start with floor press first, just to kind of learn the line that you need to go down. You want that bar to be right about nipple height.
Right.
If you're lifting like truly for a performance, you don't want it to be like across your clavicle like a bodybuilder would. But you want it to be more around nipple height. Learn to arch. Learn to put some pressure on your shoulders.
Yeah, learning. See, this one confuses me.
Okay.
Do you pay attention to any stuff that Adam's doing with N1?
No.
So like that scapular retraction.
Yep.
That you get in a good bench press, well, that all the big bench pressers have.
Yep.
It's not the greatest thing for shoulder health and scapular rhythm.
Yep.
So it's like give or take, but maybe learning how to get that tightness.
Yeah, without pinching shoulders.
Yeah.
I think to get there, in my mind, you can tell me differently because you competed more. Like to get to that point, I think you need to pinch first to understand what pressure feels like. But then over time, you learn how to set up without doing it.
Yeah, as
when you understand what shoulder pressure feels like, that makes a difference.
Yeah, as a competitor, like I trained at Elite once, and Dave fixed my bench press in 2 seconds.
Yeah. What do you do?
He just said, "Hey, I want you to grab the bar, reverse grip, and do like a light inverted row.
Yep.
And focus on squeezing your shoulder blades, and then keep that tension when you step back up on the bench."
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh." And I still do that just to get tight, but I don't pull as tight if I'm going for a 1 rep max. I kind of like, okay, I'm set.
Yep.
I'm in a good position on the tops of my scaps, and now, right, learning to create external rotation in the shoulder for stability purposes without overdoing it. Because if you overdo it, you tuck your elbows too hard.
Sorry about that, man.
No,
These little heathens upstairs that can't be quiet playing the little Smash Brothers.
well, that's probably because it turned into Smash Brothers.
Yeah, pretty much. I like that cue that you're talking about. I saw Dave did a video like that in, like, I think it was like 2008, and on how to create that kind of that pressure that you're talking about. So if you go back to the old CMO Strength YouTube page, that's how I show it. And it's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
It makes a world of difference. Guys would learn how to arch that way, and it started to fix some things. It was kind of cool.
Right. So the other thing, though, is something I started doing over the summer, and I don't know, it was a technique flaw I had. Is I was starting to get too much external rotation in my shoulder. So I was coming in too tucked.
Yes.
So I felt like I would be way more comfortable false gripping everything.
Okay.
And I talked to somebody. I was like, "Hey, this is what's going on." He's like, "You're over tucking your elbows."
Yeah. Yep.
So it's finding that 45-ish degrees from your shoulder, here, creating about a 45-degree angle, give or take, and staying in that groove.
Interesting.
In that groove.
Cool.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, for me, I have a really hard time not running 5-3-1 with newbies.
Yep.
And I've made up so many variations. I'm sure Wendler talked about it. At one point I had, like, with 5-3-1, I was finding if I was on that ones week where you're AMRAPing, by Friday, I'm gassed.
Yep.
By the end of the week. So what I started doing is I rotated. So one week I'd have a deload, a 3s, a 5s, and an AMRAP all in 1 week, and then next week it would just shift based on movement.
Yeah.
Just kind of stay fresh. So I kind of had a constant built-in deload on a day.
Cool.
Yeah, that's something.
That's another one too, is when you start to really get in the groove of things. Like, man, that shit can wear you out.
Yeah. I even like the powerlifting format of it better.
Yep.
It's
like for our skill guys at SEMO. I mean, that's what they would run for their bench work. I really didn't see a whole need in them and throwing a bunch of board work in there, some high pin presses. I never saw the need of it. Like the big guys, where I thought, they kind of get more out of it because they get juiced for it. But like skill guys, that's all they would run was the powerlifter version. Especially when we got around testing time, and it was always perfect.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about SEMO football, about that spring I was with you, was I ran that first 8 weeks. And that was rough. That first 8 weeks going into spring ball, where there's like banded reverse lunges.
Yep.
You had to do incline rear delt flies with at least 30 pounds, X over step ups. I don't even remember what what the loading was on the big movements.
Yeah, I've got it.
I have it.
A file somewhere.
I know there was like pin cleans to front squats were in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was probably trap bar deadlifts.
Yeah, trap bar deadlifts were right for me was always right before testing. The only reason I did that was because you could overload the shit out of that bar, and when they come back in and get ready to conventional test, like everything flies, and all of a sudden you got a couple 600-pound pullers.
Were you there? Were you still there when Brandon loaded up the trap bar and we had to put the gray bands on the trap bar to hold the weights
that was
on?
cool.
And then
I got a video of Evan doing that.
Chains over the top of everything.
Yep.
And he pulled it for like 5.
Crazy shit, man.
Oh, that was
good stuff, man.
Yeah, that was.
Anything else you want to add today?
No, but I'd like to keep doing this. I think we need to do. One, we should bring somebody in. We should do a speed work day. Because I teach that unit I teach that next week. Okay. And when it comes to speed work,
like what do you mean in terms of speed work? Let's just talk about it now. What do you mean in terms of speed work?
Like, how do you get a field sport athlete faster?
I think you look at the profile of the athlete first. What sport is it? Give me a sport.
Let's pick football because that's the one everyone does. That's the one where
it's less than 5 seconds of effort usually.
Typically.
40, 45 seconds rest. So it makes it alactic aerobic.
Right.
So you do your tempo runs to build that aerobic capacity. And then I don't think there's much need of doing anything over a 20-yard sprint. So you kind of figure up, I think it's different when you get into a true speed block versus like an initial strength block. That's how I always separated it. They're still lactic in nature, but my strength block comes first, so we're not going to sprint as much. It's like our distances will probably be half of what we do right before we roll into season because I want them the fastest they can be right before season. You follow what I'm saying on that logic?
I follow what you're saying. Like over the summer when I got to that, second, third block where I was starting to work triples and singles, I replaced one of my tempo days with I just did starts. I was just doing 10-yard starts.
Yep.
Like I like acceleration work there, but I'm talking we're in a speed block. Well, like what do you do to improve speed? Like I think you running mechanics, and I've seen those go right out the door on day one as soon as they get in a game.
Yeah. So here's what I think. I think over time things improve because you teach kids how to push harder off the back foot. So you teach them extension, but you can teach extension through plyos. So there needs to be plyo work first on bounding. So you're going to bound 3 or 4 sets of 30 yards. Let's get you warmed up. But all right, but now you get into speed work. I think you need to run 10 10s, 5 20s, and 130. That's really what I think. I think if you do that consistently twice a week, there's no way in hell you can't get faster. The 10s work on the start. They work on that initial position. You're going to see that forward lean, that hard push, and you get them to really compete. 20s, all right, it lengthens it up. So now the guys that aren't as quick out of the gate might be able to catch up to the 20. And then you run 130, and whoever messes up can do 50 push-ups. So, but you build competition into it, and competition is what brings things out.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual running technique itself, I think a lot of that it comes from that back foot push off where you see that full extension out of the gate, and that comes from doing plyos, and then you reinforce it through the sprint.
Are you a big fly guy?
I did them on Fridays, right before the season would start. So we do 30-yard flies. So we build up for 30, sprint for 30, cool it down. We would do those. Like I said, that was our Friday. So acceleration through the first, like our strength block, accelerations and short sprints were on Monday and Friday. But then when we got into it right before the season, now my skill guys are doing fly work on one day, they're doing starts and sprints on Monday.
Right.
And the big guys would just push a sled for 10
Okay,
yards.
so I remember Big's pushing sleds and Big Skill kind of
They're kind of a hybrid, a little bit of a hybrid.
Or
Just
you
depends.
cut,
For our guys,
or
the
you cut
linebackers,
distance
they had to
down.
move. What's that?
Or did you cut distance down on them? They would do fly 20s instead of 30s.
No, it really just depended on where they were out on the field. Like your outside linebackers would be more in those shorter distances. Like they wouldn't run any 30s. I didn't see a point in that. This is all 10s and 20s. We didn't do any fly work for them. It was the same. It was the same running Monday and Friday. But for our mics, those guys have to run a little bit more. They got to cover more. So yeah, they can do some fly work. It's not going to hurt them. I don't know. It just depends on what you're going to do.
And then were you a sprint first guy or a lift first guy?
You always sprint first.
Always sprint first.
Plyos, speed, lift.
Plyo, speed, lift.
And if you're going to do conditioning, you do it after.
Because I've heard of some coaches that they'll lift their skill guys first because they like lifting, or they don't like lifting, but they enjoy running, and then they run them second. And they'll flip-flop that for the bigs because the bigs like lifting, but they don't like running, so they'll run them first.
Yeah, I look at it in terms of what are you trying to gain out of it? Do I care if they're a big-time lifter? Or do I care if they can move? So I care my guys can sprint, so I want them to be as efficient as possible, so they're going to do that first.
Makes sense.
You've got to be able to run. That's the end. That's the bottom line of everything in every sport is you have to be able to run. You have to be able to cut. You have to be able to change direction, and none of that stuff can be taught in a really fatigued state.
Right. And I know
when we talk about like the scheduling of those sprints, the 10-10s, there's a minute between all of them, and they're standing around and they're bored. You know, most of the time they're colder than hell because it's during this time of year. Like, man, can we just get moving and get this done? No, we're gonna take our time. We're gonna do this right.
Right, Max.
So it's 30 minutes of that work, and then they come in, they would lift for an hour. So it wasn't. I mean, for the guys that came in at 5:30 in the morning, they didn't like it. But hey, I was there at 5, so I could really care. I've been up since 4. Didn't bother me.
Yeah, you have.
You can suck it up. You got to get to class.
Right. You guys are done, and I get to lift and take a nap.
Shit.
Winning.
Yeah, I hope that was clear, though. I mean, it's hard for me to put my ideas out there and always make it into a coherent statement. But I think depending on the time of year with your sprinting, you're going to do half the volume of what you're going to do right before a season. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because your lifting volume at that point tapers down a little bit because you're worried about what matters. And you better show up in shape for the first day of camp.
Right.
And that was my thing is we're never going to show up out of shape.
I don't remember too much sprint work in the spring because we went 8 weeks. Then we had you messed around with Cal Dietz antagonistically facilitated strength method during spring ball and French contrast. The undulated for time stuff. Mm-hmm. Cal likes big words.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't.
And then spring, I don't remember what that last 4 weeks of spring were. And then I got you for what? You were there 4 weeks of summer?
Yeah, first 4.
Again, and then you left me and Adam on an island. Yeah. And it turned into anarchy. Hey, Dave, let's push the sleds up the hill today. Okay. That lasted 2 reps because it was just too hard to get them back down the hill. Adam jumped off the top of a rack. It was the best. It was the best depth drop I've ever seen in my life, though.
I don't know, man. The sled push up the hill, though, that was like, what's it called? What do they call it during Hell Week for the Navy SEALs? The crucible. It was a crucible for guys when I first got there to decide if you really want to stay here or not. And these were our non-travel guys. It's like, guys, I'm just going to kill you here. You can either quit or you can persevere.
Did you have them push up the hill by the practice field or behind the weight room?
Behind the weight room, up the concrete slab. And
We had him
I
we had him going
lost
up
at least 10 guys that didn't really want to be there, but just thought it was going to be cool to play college football. But then after that first 4 weeks of me on the non-travel guys, getting the shit kicked in every single week, that was enough for them.
that was pre-Baby Hawk too, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was my very first year there. Very first season.
That
But it was
might
fun,
be.
though. It was 08. We had a rough year in 08, too.
That might be a fun program to run just to run.
What's that?
The Baby Hawk, the
Yep.
all the 3-position ISOs.
Yep.
I just gave you the worst idea ever for my life.
I'm not going to do it to you. I'm not going to make you do it. I like where you're at with your program right now. I think for the next one, we can talk about it a little bit.
I wouldn't
about
mind
the
that
intricacies of it.
Pull-ups.
What's that?
I wouldn't mind that for pull-ups.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe pull-ups and hypers.
For sure. I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Cool. I appreciate you, man.
You enjoy. Go. Who are you gonna pick? You gonna pick Yoshi? Or you going? Who's your character in Smash Brothers?
It's Ken. Ken's the best.
Okay.
He goes, "How you doing, Joe? Would you? I do this uppercut where he flies up 30 feet in the air and destroys everybody, and they almost always cry when I have Ken, so that makes it worth it. Would you?
Fantastic. I'm surprised you haven't taught him the art of Mario Kart.
No, I destroy him, Matt. They don't have a chance. I'm the best in the house. I'm number one. I'll see you, brother.
All right, later.
Bye.
Bye.